Hello my friends, this is Logan Jacob, and today I have another video talking a little bit about my workflow. This time I want to focus specifically on how I use Fugue Machine, and I've really just started playing around with it, and I kind of wanted to show off my setup for it and how I used it to create this track. As you can see by now, I have a mouse hooked up so you can actually kind of follow around with what I'm clicking on and see everything there. So if you're not familiar with Fugue Machine, it is a super cool app developed by a guy named Alexander, who is a super nice guy. I emailed him a question and he answered me within 48 hours. Very simple answer and very clear, and was really nice about it. So way to go, Alex, for developing a super cool app. So the way this works is that it basically creates a fugue for you, or at least something similar to a fugue. If you don't know what a fugue is, it was a popular musical form used in the Baroque era, popularized heavily by J.S. Bach, Johann Sebastian Bach, but used throughout music history, although it was mostly popular in the Baroque era. And the basic idea is you take a simple theme or a subject, usually very short, a couple of measures long or so, and the entire piece is built on that. You transpose and transform the subject and develop it into a longer composition. And Fugue Machine lets you basically do that. You can take a simple line. As you can see, I've just got 8 notes across 2 bars, and you can end up creating very complex lines with it. Now, you're not going to be able to create something as creative and complex as J.S. Bach or Beethoven, but it does give you some really cool tools to use to create interesting and complex music from just a simple line. So, to kind of go over how I got started here, I want to talk you through the synth setup. So I'm inside of AUM, which hopefully you're familiar with by now, and you know how to create, bring in audio tracks and add effects to it and all that stuff. So I just want to walk you through the settings real quick. I'm using KASPAR for line number 1, and that sounds like this. I'm using the preset Soft, which I've tweaked just a little bit, but it's mostly the standard preset that comes with KASPAR. And then I have that running through Granular, which is basically Mutable Instruments Cloud. For channel 2, I decided that would be my bass line. So I'm using Moog Model 15 on the Replicant Brass, which obviously with the name Replicant is supposed to simulate the sound of Blade Runner. And I'm actually using it down low through most of this. Kind of a nice bassy sound, and I've got that being processed by a little bit of Bleece reverb. So I bring the dry wet down to about 30% usually when I'm using Bleece reverb. For channel 3, I wanted to use Resonator because I'm such a huge fan and I've really been playing around with it recently. So you've got that nice kind of bell-like sound. You can bring up the matrix a little bit, which I like that. I actually think I'm going to leave that there. And as you can hear, I do have some delay on that. I'm using Cosmonaut. Again, a huge fan of Cosmonaut. I clicked the random button until I found a sound I liked. I've got the sound-on-sound loop pulled up to about 50%. With the tape length set at 4 beats, the ambiance setting giving me a little bit of reverb built in there so I don't have to use it. And then I've got it panned with the pan rate here at about 11 o'clock and the off width at about 11:30, so that when I play it, you can hear it bouncing back and forth. And that gives a really nice effect when Fugue Machine brings that one in. Now for the final synth, this one, the idea I had was just to kind of have an extra texture over the top of it. It's not necessarily a melodic line. So I'm using this patch that I made called Delayed Sine Arp, which I do have up on Patch Storage. I'll put a link down below so you can get that patch if you want to check it out. So it's been a while since I made this. I don't remember the exact process, but I took one of the presets and just played around with it, added some delay, and kind of created a sound that I like. So with that, whenever I hit a note, you get that kind of gated effect. So it's not a full arpeggio unless you have multiple notes going, but you do get the octave transposition there. And I think the harder the velocity is, the more you get from it. So that's the final layer that the Fugue Machine brings in. Now, the way that I have Fugue Machine routed is that you can actually send the playheads to different channels. So the way this works is that you've got your simple line and you have 4 different playheads, which are controlled here by the different colors, and you can change those up however you want. So for playhead 1, I have that. If I click on my routing here, I have Fugue Machine playhead 1 connected there. And when I start playhead 1, you can hear my initial line, which is kind of a Philip Glass inspired C minor basic synth line. I love the way that Granular is adding those little artifacts over the top of it, very, very much like Clouds would do. So if I click over here, you can see the settings for playhead 1. So with the style, it's going forward. It is at standard tempo, playing the regular quarter note beat, starting on beat 1 or 16th note 1 actually. The octave is at 0, so it's just the octave as written and the pitch as written there. And I do have the velocity turned all the way up on that one. If I go over to playhead 2, playhead 2 is my bass line. So I've got playhead 2 at a division of 8. So it's playing 8 times as slow as playhead 1, which means that each note is going for, I think, 4 or 8 beats. Oh, my battery is running out, but that's all right. We're going to make it. So if I start that, you can kind of hear how it's running the bass line. So each of those is now 8 beats long. So basically 2 measures apiece on that line. So just a nice little bass line from the replicant brass there from Moog Model D, or Mini Moog Model D, I guess to be correct. For playhead 3, I've got it going backwards, and it is at the same quarter note tempo that we had before, but I've got it up 2 octaves plus an extra a third down. So you're getting an interval there that just creates another unique sound. And with that coming through the resonator, you get a really sparkly chime sound. Right, so it actually is starting on a G, so I guess it's a 4th down from that 2 octave. And when you put all of those together, it just creates a really nice, complicated sound. So I'll do that now. I'm going to start my playhead, or start my sequence, and then I'll just bring each one in. I'll go ahead and let it start with number 1, which is my basic theme. my subject, if you will. And then I'll add my bass line. You do have to be careful because the quantize is set pretty quick, so you have to click on it within a beat or so. And I'll just let these initial 8 measures or so go through so that it starts on a reasonable downbeat. I'm bringing in playhead 3 and I forgot to talk about playhead 4. I've got it up an octave, and then the pitch up another 4 from there. And I also have the tempo running at a triplet in ×1 speed, and I have it bouncing back and forth. Now, with the tempo, because of the way the arpeggiator is working, you're not really hearing the start of every single note because of the way it delays in. But it really created an interesting sound that I liked, an interesting texture over the top of it. So I'll bring that in here in another 2 measures. I guess another 4 measures. And 4, 3, 2, 1. So you get that nice little texture up on top of it. So that's how I set up the synths and the melodic material, I guess, if you will, for this Fugue. I also am using another instance of Fugue Machine to create my drum groove, my drum beats. So I'm going to solo. Actually, I've got those off, so I don't need to solo it. So I have this Fugue Machine going to 2 different drum synths. And I'm actually using all of the playheads for each of these. So this is the Fugue Machine at channel 7, all of the playheads going into Ruismaker Noir, which I have set up like this. I'm not using the sequencer at all, actually, so I can drag this up and get rid of it. I'm just using the sounds. And even without bringing in the other drum machine, if I just start it with the first playhead, it's got that real intense, almost like cinematic sound to it. You could pitch it down a little bit if you want it to be more dramatic or whatever. Take out some of the bit crush if you want, but I liked it right about there. So the other playheads basically are just running at different tempos to create a more polyrhythmic idea. 2, 3, and. Obviously gets a little bit more intense there. Just a super cool groove with even just those going. So you can see over here that playhead 4 is going up a little bit higher, which is where you get that higher pitch, almost kind of distant snare sound. And then playhead 3 is dropped a little bit lower. Or playhead 2, I should say, is dropped a little bit lower. So that's all just running through Ruismaker Noir. And what I figured out was that I could run that through a scaler and have it transpose down a half step, and also, yeah, so I have it C chromatic transpose down a half step, and it set everything to the right pitches to be able to create a normal groove in regular Ruismaker, where you get the hi-hats, a little bit of tom every once in a while, and the bass drum and snare groove. And I found that with that other crazy stuff going on in the Fugue, when I brought that drum sample in, it just kicked. It was super cool. A really cool groove there. And for this, I'm using the preset for Minimal 2. And I just played around with it a little bit. I adjusted some of the settings. I wanted the snare to be a little poppier, so I changed it up a little bit. And then I've got Bleece reverb on that as well. So when you pull both those in together, just a really interesting groove. And I was very happy with that whenever I started putting it all in together. Was able to get some really cool stuff going. So just to show you here, I also have that one going from all of the playheads. So I have all the playheads going into the scaler for that Fugue machine. And then I have the scaler going into Ruismaker down there. So that's how I got all of my connections, and whenever I put it all together, it gives me a really nice little sequence. So I'm actually going to start with playhead 1 going, but I'm going to bring that all the way down. Actually, I think I'll just mute it so that I don't have to fade it in. So I'm going to turn the volume back up a little bit on all my synths so you can hear them a little better, and I'll just kind of do a mini jam of basically how I brought everything in with in the video that I played earlier. So here we go. We'll start it with channel 1. Let that go one more time to let that melody sink in for you. And then we'll bring in some bass. Oh no, I was late. We're going to start that bass again so that I can get it in tempo. 1, 2, 3, and there we go. There's a little bit of latency when using a mouse. Go ahead and bring in some drums. Here comes Ruismaker Noir. So when I was doing the video, I actually had both of these stacked up at this point so I could kind of click in what I needed to. So I'm going to try to bring these two in at the same time. I was a little bit early on playhead 3 there, but it actually kind of adds a nice little offbeat effect. I think Bach would appreciate that. So now I'm going to go ahead and bring in the delay sine arp. That's a little bit offbeat too, but you get the idea. See if I can get that sine arp better in tempo. drums a little more. That sounds a lot better. So now that I've got everything running, so I like to bring in the drums a little bit early so you almost get a fill. I really think that jams once you get it all going. It's weird, it's spooky, but it's so cool. It's got such a nice groove to it. Fade all those tracks down into the background here while I finish things up. So I hope you like that. I hope you enjoy Fugue Maker. It's certainly a cool app. It's worth a few dollars to go and get it. Obviously, I'm still in love with Spectrum Synth. As a free AU, it's super cool. Ruismaker Noir is a lot of fun. The regular Ruismaker, of course, makes great beats. AUM in itself is an awesome DAW to play with, especially for somebody like me who likes to do more kind of live improvised jams. It works really well. The workflow I love. I can randomly add stuff if I need to in the middle of it, and it's just really comfortable and easy to use. I've been using mixers since I was 12 years old, and this works effectively just like a regular mixer, adding instruments to it. So super cool stuff. Thank you so much for watching. As always, like and subscribe. You can find me on Facebook at fb.me/LoganJacobMusic, soundcloud.com/LoganJacob, and loganjacob.bandcamp.com. There's links down below in the description for the video. I'm also going to put a link to the Fugue Machine app so that you can find it in there. Go check out my other videos, listen to some of my tunes. I've got some music on SoundCloud that's not in my videos, so you can go check out some of that stuff. And let me know if there's any apps that you would like to demo, or if there's a video of a tune that I've already got out there and you want to see kind of the background into that, just like I did this one. I can kind of walk through how I built it and put it together, assuming I remember how I did it. Most of them are improvised jams that I just kind of do during my lunch break, but I can at least talk you through the setup and how the apps work and all the settings and everything. Thank you again for watching. My name is Logan Jacob, and I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day.